the stock market crash over with? We take a look at Nvidia. Nvidia still looks a bit sick, even though it was up 80 cents on the session. We take a look at the heat map out here. What do we see? The S&P 500 was filled with a sea of green. Then we look at the fear and greed index. We were able to make it back into neutral territory today. Now we look at how the indices fared today. The Dow was up 654 points. The NASDAQ was up 176 points. The S&P 500 was up 59 points. The Russell 2000 was up 3.64 points. And we look at advancing issues versus declining. We had 78% of issues advancing for the day. And I've been warning you guys about this for the last 2 days. Remember, the VIX closed up over 20% in one single day. And I said, watch out. We're likely going to get an update in the market either on Thursday or on Friday. Well, Thursday did not materialize for that. Today, however, we saw the VIX going down and the indices responding very well. Look at the SPY basically bouncing off this area. And this is the area where I warned you guys in this morning's video, we could get a bounce. We had a shooting star type of candle in the context of a downtrend. And I said, where are we likely to go? Right up here to the 50% Fibonacci level. That's exactly where we went. Now the question is, do we come down for a double bottom pattern and potentially start to go substantially lower? We come down and we look at the dollar index. Dollar index essentially flat today, down 8 cents on the session. We take a look at gold. Gold having an inside day, meaning the low was higher than the low from the prior day. The high was lower than the high from the prior day, which means next week we could be seeing a breakout or breakdown from this pattern. Let's not forget, next Wednesday, we have that FOMC meeting, and we're going to see what J Powell has in store for us. If we come over and look at 10-year yield, 10-year yield was on the decline down today, down 5 cents on the session. Now, I want to bring up something because we're probably asking ourselves, is the stock market crash over with? Or have we averted the crash? We see today the NASDAQ had an inside day, but also if we measure from the high down towards the low, the NASDAQ has retraced roughly 9.5% if we're looking at the Qs. If you look at the futures markets, it's right around 10%. And a 10% correction isn't a crash in the market. But a lot of people this week were freaking out saying, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? And there are a lot of things to be fearful of and things that could push the markets substantially lower, like who is going to be the next president. We look at the MACD indicator on the daily chart, still looks extremely horrible at this moment. But when we see the VIX rising up to elevated levels, we start getting around 20. This is when we start to get a lot of gyrations in the market. And you might say, well, Mike, what are you talking about with gyrations in the market? If we come right over here and look at the S&P 500, I want you guys to notice from this high right up here, we yanked down roughly 50 points. So we had a range today of 83 points. And look at yesterday, big run up, boom, yank back down. This is very characteristic of what happens when the VIX is up here at these elevated levels. And today, once we broke above the overnight value area high, look, this was one of the target areas, 5504, I said to watch out for. We hit that target today. And even more important than that, we came right over here to this high volume area, which was an area that we identified in this morning's analysis video. So hopefully you guys were able to catch that video, which I drop each day before the stock market is open. Now, if we go ahead and we pull a Fibonacci retracement from the swing high down to the low, notice we've come right near the 50% retracement right over here. But what about if we go ahead and we take it for the whole entire leg on the way down? That would actually show us that we have a potential making up towards 55.76. We still have this gap down, that gap down in the middle of the week. This was not a Sunday night gap lower. This happened in the middle of the week, and this is something we want to pay attention to. One, this could be a target location, and will it be Papa Powell that actually causes the market to rally next week as he basically may lay out the framework for how the Fed or when the Fed is likely going ahead and cut rates? Because when we look at the Fed watch tool, they're still projecting a 95.3% chance the Fed is not going to be cutting rates at the very next meeting. Now, let's dive in and look at some of the stocks today. All right, we already looked at Nvidia. What about Microsoft? Microsoft's been getting beaten up lately. Microsoft today was able to eke out a gain of 1.64%. Well, what about Google? Google today was down 49 cents, but look at this. Now we have buyers showing up at the bottom of this candle. How do we know? Well, we open here. We had a wick. Price push down, came all the way back up. That's showing us there was some sort of buying within that candle. On the daily chart though, what I'm going to say is we need a little bit more work before the MACD indicator is going to start to turn. Also, if you look over here to the right, we're coming right into the edge of that minus development area. And let me know in the comment section down below, do you guys think this chart is going to be right? Has the NASDAQ peaked out once again in the month of July? As we can see by this chart, the NASDAQ has peaked out more times than in any other month in the month of July. We come over and take a look at SMCI. SMCI was having a bounce out here today. And, is this nothing more than a bounce? Should the bulls jump back on board and try to rally stocks up higher, or are we in for a little bit of trouble coming up ahead? It's going to be this chart right here. This is going to show us when the yield curve gets uninverted. You can see it's been getting steeper right here. And when the yield curve steepens, that normally is not very good out here for stocks. And if we can get right above this line right up there, that is basically going to lay the framework that we are likely going to be going substantially lower in the stock market. Now, let me know in the comment section down below, do you guys think that this is going to be more than a simple correction where the NASDAQ was down roughly 10%, the S&P dropped by about 5%, or is this the beginning of a stock market crash? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. And if you guys want to learn how to trade volume profile using order flow, watch this video right here.